Today I would like to invite you to listen to the Dhammapada of the Buddha Sakyamuni. The 201st verses from the Buddhist scriptures on the YouTube channel Thien Thai in the USA. Victory breeds hatred. The defeated live in pain. Happily the peaceful live, giving up victory and defeat. The blessed Buddha taught these words with deep compassion after seeing the suffering created by attachment to winning and losing. The human heart often becomes troubled because it seeks to stand above others, to be praised more than others, to possess more than others, and to prove that one's own thoughts, one's own opinions, and one's own actions are always correct. When the mind becomes attached to victory, it creates the seeds of conflict. When the mind fears defeat, it creates the roots of sorrow. The Buddha did not teach that people should become weak or abandon their responsibilities. The Buddha taught that true peace arises when the heart is no longer imprisoned by pride, anger, jealousy, and the desire to overcome another person. In this world, many people believe that victory brings happiness. They believe that when they defeat another person, they will finally experience peace. They believe that when they become superior, they will no longer suffer. Yet the wisdom of the Buddha reveals a deeper truth. A victory created by hatred cannot produce lasting happiness. A victory built upon another person's suffering carries hidden pain within itself. Even the person who wins may continue to carry fear, because the mind that desires victory must always protect what it has gained. It must defend its position. It must compare itself with others. It must remain concerned that someone else may take away its success. The Buddha looked deeply into the nature of the human mind and saw that the greatest battle does not happen outside of us. The greatest battle happens within our own hearts. A person may defeat many enemies in the world, yet if anger remains inside, that person has not found true victory. A person may gain wealth, honor, and recognition, yet if greed and attachment continue, that person has not found freedom. The Buddha taught that the most noble victory is the victory over oneself. When a person conquers hatred with kindness, anger with patience, ignorance with wisdom, and selfishness with compassion, that person has achieved a victory that no one can take away. The story connected with this teaching comes from the life of the Buddha and the conflict between the followers of the Blessed One and the followers of another spiritual teacher named Thanapada, who was respected by many people during that time. Among those followers was a wealthy man named Upali. He was a devoted supporter of another teacher and was known for his intelligence and ability to debate. One day, Upali heard the teachings of the Buddha and decided to meet the Blessed One to challenge his understanding of the Dharma. Upali came with confidence in his own knowledge. His intention was to defend the teachings he already believed and to prove that his own teacher's views were superior. At that moment, his mind was filled with the desire for victory. He wished to defeat the Buddha through discussion and return with the satisfaction of having won an argument. Yet the Buddha did not respond with anger, pride, or the desire to overcome him. The Blessed One received Upali with kindness, patience, and wisdom. The Buddha did not see Upali as an enemy. The Buddha did not see a person who needed to be defeated. The Buddha saw a human being who was searching for truth, but was still influenced by attachment and misunderstanding. Because the Buddha's heart was free from pride, he had no need to prove himself. Because the Buddha's wisdom was complete, he had no need to fight with another person's opinions. The Buddha simply offered the Dharma with compassion. As Upali listened deeply, he gradually understood the difference between a mind seeking victory and a mind seeking truth. A mind seeking victory listens only to find weaknesses in others. A mind seeking truth listens with humility and openness. A mind seeking victory wants to say, I am right and you are wrong. A mind seeking truth asks, what can I learn? What can help remove suffering from my heart? Through listening to the Buddha's teachings, Upali's understanding transformed. He recognized the greatness of the Buddha's compassion and wisdom. He realized that the purpose of spiritual practice was not to create arguments or increase pride. The purpose of the Dharma was to free beings from suffering. The Dharma was not a weapon to defeat others. The Dharma was a lamp that illuminated the path toward peace. When Upali wished to become a follower of the Buddha, the Blessed One did not encourage hatred toward his former teacher. The Buddha advised him to continue showing respect and generosity toward those who had supported him before. This teaching revealed the purity of the Buddha's heart. The Buddha did not seek victory over another religion or another person. The Buddha sought only the ending of suffering. This story expresses the meaning of the 201st verse. True peace does not come from defeating others. True peace comes when the heart releases the need to defeat. A person who abandons hatred does not lose. A person who abandons anger does not become weak. A person who lets go of pride does not become inferior. Instead, that person discovers a freedom greater than any worldly achievement. Human beings often spend their lives fighting invisible battles. Sometimes we fight with family members because we want our opinions to be accepted. Sometimes we fight with friends because we want to prove ourselves correct. Sometimes we fight with society because we feel we are not respected enough. Sometimes we fight within our own minds because we cannot forgive our past mistakes. The Buddha teaches us to look carefully at these struggles. Before asking whether we have won or lost, we should ask whether our heart has become peaceful. Before asking whether others respect us, we should ask whether we have learned to respect others. Before asking whether someone has hurt us, we should ask whether anger has created suffering inside our own minds. A person who holds on to anger believes that anger protects them. But anger is like holding a burning piece of wood while waiting for another person to be burned. The first person to suffer is the one who carries the fire. Hatred creates a prison around the heart. Compassion opens the door of freedom. The Buddha did not teach people to accept injustice or ignore harmful actions. The Dharma teaches wisdom and balance. When a harmful situation appears, we respond with clarity, not hatred. When someone makes a mistake, we respond with compassion, not revenge. When we must correct something, we do so with a peaceful mind. A peaceful heart can still act. A peaceful heart can still protect goodness. A peaceful heart simply does not allow hatred to become its master. Victory and defeat exist because the mind creates separation. The mind says, I must be above others. The mind says, I must never lose. The mind says, my happiness depends on being better than someone else. But the Buddha saw that all beings share the same wish. Every being wishes to avoid suffering. Every being wishes to experience happiness. Every being wishes to be loved and understood. When we see this truth, the walls between ourselves and others begin to disappear. The person we call an opponent is also a being seeking happiness. The person who hurts us is also influenced by ignorance and suffering. This does not mean we approve of harmful behavior. It means we understand that hatred only creates more suffering. The peaceful person is not someone who never faces difficulties. The peaceful person is someone who does not allow difficulties to destroy inner harmony. The peaceful person may experience criticism but does not immediately respond with anger. The peaceful person may experience loss but does not allow despair to control the mind. The peaceful person may encounter conflict but chooses understanding instead of hatred. The Buddha's teaching is like a clear river flowing gently through the human heart. It washes away the dust of resentment. It softens the hardness created by pride. It brings freshness to a mind that has been tired from countless struggles. When we practice letting go of victory and defeat, we are not abandoning life. We are discovering a wiser way to live. Every day provides opportunities to practice this Dharma. When someone disagrees with us, we can practice patience. When someone criticizes us, we can practice humility. When someone praises us, we can practice non-attachment. When we succeed, we can remain grateful. When we fail, we can remain peaceful and continue learning. The world teaches people to compete constantly. Competition itself is not always harmful. It can encourage effort, creativity, and improvement. But when competition becomes mixed with hatred, jealousy, and pride, it becomes a source of suffering. The Buddha invites us to transform competition into wholesome effort. We can strive to improve ourselves without needing others to fail. We can grow without needing to stand on another person's suffering. The greatest achievement is not becoming higher than others. The greatest achievement is becoming free from the suffering created by our own defilements. The greatest wealth is not what we possess outside ourselves. The greatest wealth is a peaceful heart. The greatest strength is not the ability to defeat others. The greatest strength is the ability to remain kind when facing difficulty. The Buddha's words remain meaningful because the human mind has not changed. People thousands of years ago experienced anger, pride, and attachment just as people do today. Families, communities, and nations continue to suffer when victory becomes more important than compassion. Therefore, this teaching is not only for monks or spiritual practitioners. It is a guide for every person who wishes to live with wisdom and peace. When we release the desire to always win, we create space for understanding. When we release the fear of losing, we discover courage. When we release hatred, we discover freedom. The peaceful heart does not need to announce its victory, because peace itself is the greatest victory. The Buddha gently reminds us that the person who defeats others may only gain a temporary result. But the person who defeats anger within themselves gains a treasure that lasts beyond this life. Worldly victories fade. Praise disappears. Positions change. Possessions are left behind. But the goodness cultivated within the heart becomes the path toward liberation. Therefore, let us contemplate this teaching deeply. Let us observe our own minds. Whenever we feel the desire to win an argument, let us ask whether victory will bring peace. Whenever we feel anger toward another person, let us ask whether holding on to anger will reduce or increase suffering. Whenever we feel the pain of defeat, let us remember that losing a worldly matter does not mean losing our dignity or our ability to practice compassion. The Buddha's Dharma encourages us to walk the middle path. We do not chase victory. We do not fear defeat. We cultivate wisdom. We cultivate kindness. We cultivate patience. In this way, the heart becomes peaceful like a calm lake that reflects the light of the moon without disturbance. The peaceful path taught by the Buddha continues to shine like a gentle light, guiding beings through the difficulties of life. When the mind is attached to victory, it becomes restless. It constantly searches for recognition, praise, and approval. It compares itself with others and creates separation between self and others. When the mind is afraid of defeat, it becomes filled with worry, sadness, and disappointment. It believes that losing something outside means losing happiness inside. Yet the Buddha teaches that the true source of suffering is not victory or defeat itself. The true source of suffering is the attachment, craving, and misunderstanding that arise within the mind. A person may receive a great victory in the eyes of the world, but still experience suffering in the heart. A person may gain wealth, fame, and power, yet feel empty because the heart has not found peace. Another person may experience loss and difficulty, but remain calm because the mind understands impermanence and knows that all conditions change. The Buddha did not measure a person's happiness by external success. The Buddha looked at the freedom of the heart. The world often teaches people to count their achievements. People count possessions, followers, positions, awards, and recognition. But the Buddha teaches us to look deeper. We should count the moments when we have overcome anger. We should count the moments when we have forgiven someone. We should count the moments when we have shown kindness without expecting anything in return. These are the victories that purify the heart. The Buddha's teaching on victory and defeat is a teaching about inner transformation. The battle that matters most is not between one person and another person. It is the battle between wisdom and ignorance within ourselves. Anger tells us to respond with anger. Wisdom tells us to respond with understanding. Pride tells us to protect our image. Compassion tells us to protect peace. Attachment tells us to hold tightly. The Dharma teaches us to release what creates suffering. In the story of Upali, we see the transformation of a mind that moved from wanting to win toward wanting to understand. Before meeting the Buddha, Upali believed that success meant proving his own views were correct. After listening to the Buddha, he realized that truth does not need violence, argument, or pride to shine. The sun does not need to fight with darkness. When the sun rises, darkness naturally disappears. In the same way, wisdom does not need hatred to overcome ignorance. The Buddha's method was always based on compassion. He did not humiliate those who disagreed with him. He did not create enemies from those who followed different teachings. He understood that every being is moving through the journey of learning. Some understand quickly, some understand slowly, some are still influenced by confusion. But all beings have the ability to awaken when they cultivate the causes of wisdom and compassion. This is a profound lesson for our daily lives. Many conflicts happen because people believe they must destroy another person's opinion in order to protect their own. They forget that two people can have different views while still respecting each other. They forget that kindness is stronger than anger. They forget that a peaceful conversation can heal what a harsh argument destroys. When we practice the Buddha's teaching, we begin to see that every person we meet is a teacher. A kind person teaches us gratitude. A difficult person teaches us patience. A person who challenges us teaches us humility. A person who causes suffering teaches us the importance of compassion and forgiveness. Every experience becomes an opportunity to cultivate wisdom. The peaceful person is not someone who escapes from the world. The peaceful person lives in the world with a transformed heart. They work, they communicate, they care for their family, and they contribute to society. But they do these things without allowing greed, hatred, and ignorance to control their actions. The Buddha compared the untrained mind to a wild animal. When the mind is not guided by wisdom, it runs toward desire and away from discomfort. It seeks pleasure and rejects pain. It wants praise and fears criticism. It wants success and fears failure. But through Dharma practice, the mind becomes trained. It becomes stable. It becomes able to remain peaceful in changing circumstances. Victory and defeat are temporary conditions. Today we may succeed. Tomorrow we may face difficulty. Today someone may praise us. Tomorrow someone may criticize us. Today we may gain something. Tomorrow we may lose something. The person who depends on these changing conditions will never find lasting peace. The Buddha teaches us to find the unchanging quality of the heart. This does not mean the heart never experiences sadness or difficulty. It means that sadness and difficulty no longer control our entire being. We learn to observe emotions with awareness. We learn that feelings arise and pass away. We learn that thoughts are not permanent truths. We learn that we can choose our response. When anger arises, we do not have to become anger. When disappointment arises, we do not have to become disappointment. When fear arises, we do not have to become fear. Through mindfulness and wisdom, we create space between ourselves and our reactions. In that space, compassion can appear. The Buddha's teaching of giving up victory and defeat is also a teaching of letting go of the ego. The ego constantly asks, how do others see me? Am I respected? Am I better? Am I winning? This endless concern creates suffering. The more we protect the ego, the more fragile the mind becomes. A heart filled with humility is naturally peaceful. A humble person does not need to prove greatness because they understand the value of all beings. They do not need to stand above others because they see the equality of suffering and the shared wish for happiness among all living beings. The Buddha did not encourage people to become passive. The Buddha encouraged people to become wise. Wisdom knows when to speak and when to remain silent. Wisdom knows when to act and when to wait. Wisdom knows how to protect goodness without creating hatred. Wisdom understands that the purpose of life is not to collect victories, but to cultivate awakening. Many people spend years trying to defeat others, but few spend time trying to understand themselves. They search for faults outside but ignore the anger, jealousy, and attachment inside. The Buddha invites us to turn the light of awareness inward. When we understand ourselves, we naturally develop understanding toward others. A person who knows their own suffering can understand the suffering of others. A person who has experienced forgiveness can offer forgiveness. A person who has received kindness can spread kindness. The heart becomes a source of peace instead of a source of conflict. The world needs this Dharma more than ever. Many conflicts arise because people hold tightly to identity and opinion. They believe that their happiness depends on defeating those who think differently. But the Buddha reminds us that hatred only creates more hatred. A peaceful world begins with peaceful hearts. When one person chooses patience instead of anger, suffering decreases. When one person chooses forgiveness instead of revenge, healing begins. When one person chooses compassion instead of judgment, the world becomes a little brighter. The practice of this verse begins with small moments. When someone speaks harshly to us, we can pause before responding. When someone makes a mistake, we can remember that we also have made mistakes. When we experience failure, we can remember that failure is not the end of the path. When we experience success, we can remember gratitude and humility. The Buddha's path is a path of continuous cultivation. Peace does not appear instantly. It grows through daily practice. Each moment of patience is a seed of peace. Each act of kindness is a seed of compassion. Each moment of letting go is a step toward freedom. The peaceful person understands that life is like a flowing river. We cannot stop the movement of conditions. We cannot hold on to every pleasant moment. We cannot avoid every unpleasant experience. But we can learn to move with wisdom. We can learn to flow without resistance. We can learn to maintain peace even when circumstances change. The person who gives up the struggle for victory and defeat discovers a freedom beyond worldly success. They no longer live as a prisoner of comparison. They no longer need constant approval. They no longer measure their worth by whether others praise or criticize them. Their happiness comes from within. Their kindness comes from understanding. Their actions come from wisdom. Such a person walks through the world with a peaceful heart. The Buddha's teaching reminds us that the greatest victory is the victory of love over hatred, patience over anger, wisdom over confusion, and compassion over selfishness. This victory brings no enemy, creates no suffering, and leaves no regret. May we all contemplate this profound teaching and apply it in our daily lives. May we learn to release the burdens we carry. May we transform conflict into understanding. May we transform suffering into wisdom. May we transform our hearts into places of peace and compassion. Because when the heart is peaceful, the world around us also becomes more peaceful. When one person awakens kindness within, that kindness can touch many lives. When one person abandons hatred, the chain of suffering becomes weaker. The Buddha's Dharma is not only something to listen to, it is something to practice. It is not only something to understand with the mind, it is something to experience with the heart. The teaching of the Blessed One continues to guide countless beings because it points directly toward freedom. It shows us that we do not need to conquer others to find happiness. We only need to understand and transform ourselves. A peaceful heart is the true home of wisdom. A compassionate heart is the true field of awakening. A mind free from victory and defeat is a mind moving toward liberation. Nama Amitabha blessed to all. I hope to bring this merit towards all disciples and sentient beings, all of whom will attain Buddhahood. Please click like, share, and subscribe to help me grow my YouTube channel. Thanks you for watching my video.